In a quiet neighborhood in Enoch, Utah, the Haight family seemed like the picture of stability. Neighbors saw them as kind, polite, and deeply rooted in their community. The children played outside, the parents attended church, and from the outside nothing appeared out of place. But sometimes the most unsettling truths lie behind closed doors. In January of 2023, the Haight family's name would become forever tied to a tragedy so devastating that it shook not only their town, but the nation. What looked like the life of an ordinary American family was hiding shadows no one had seen coming until it was far too late. On a cold January afternoon in 2023, the small town of Enoch, Utah, would become the site of one of the most devastating family tragedies in recent memory. What began as a routine welfare check would uncover a horror that would shake this tight-knit community to its core and reveal the deadly consequences of domestic violence that had been brewing beneath the surface for years. The day started like any other for the Haight family. Tasha Haight, a 40-year-old mother of 5, had plans to meet with a friend that afternoon. But when she failed to show up for their appointment, concern began to grow. Her friend, worried by the unusual absence, contacted authorities and requested a welfare check at the family's home. At 4 p.m. on January 4, 2023, police officers arrived at the residence, expecting perhaps to find someone ill or dealing with a minor emergency. Instead, they discovered a scene of unimaginable carnage. Inside the home lay 8 bodies, all victims of gunshot wounds. The victims included Tasha Haight herself, her 78-year-old mother, Gail Earl, who had been visiting, and 5 children whose lives had been cut tragically short: 17-year-old Macy, 12-year-old Briley, 7-year-old twins Ammon and Sienna, and 4-year-old Gavin. The 8th victim was 42-year-old Michael Haight, Tasha's husband and the father of the children, who had died from a self-inflicted gunshot wound after methodically killing his entire family with a .40 caliber Springfield XDM pistol. The investigation that followed would reveal a disturbing pattern of abuse and control that had been escalating for years. 3 years before the massacre, warning signs had already emerged when Michael's own daughter, Macy, then just 14 years old, had found the courage to report her father's violent behavior to police. Her account was chilling in its detail and prescient in its fear. She told officers that her father had become assaultive over the previous 3 years, describing incidents where he had choked her. Most haunting of all, she expressed her terror that his attacks would worsen, telling police she was very afraid that he was going to kill her. When confronted by the investigating officer in 2020, Michael Haight's response revealed the mindset of a controlling abuser. He dismissed his daughter's serious allegations by calling the 14-year-old mouthy, showing no remorse or acknowledgement of his violent behavior. Even more disturbing was his admission that he had been surveilling his wife's phone and tablet, monitoring her communications to ensure she hadn't spoken negatively about the family to anyone. This level of control and paranoia would prove to be a deadly combination. Despite the clear warning signs, the system failed to protect the Haight family. Tasha, perhaps hoping to keep her family together or fearing the consequences of pressing charges, told the investigating officer that she didn't believe filing charges was necessary. She expressed hope that the police intervention would serve as a wake-up call for her husband. The officer, perhaps influenced by Michael's ability to present himself as reasonable, told Tasha there was no indication that there would be any violent behavior on Michael's part. This assessment would prove tragically wrong. The county attorney's office later stated they had found insufficient evidence to pursue criminal charges regarding the domestic violence allegations. This decision left the family vulnerable to the very violence that Macy had predicted with such terrifying accuracy. The failure to take action on these early warning signs would have devastating consequences just 3 years later. The final trigger for the massacre came when Tasha finally found the strength to leave her abusive marriage. 2 weeks before the shooting, she had commenced divorce proceedings against Michael, a step that research shows is often the most dangerous time for victims of domestic violence. For controlling abusers like Michael, the prospect of losing power over their victims can trigger extreme and deadly reactions. In what may have been an attempt to lull his family into a false sense of security, Michael had reportedly told them just days before the shooting that he had removed all guns from the family home. This claim, which Tasha had shared with her extended family, may have been a calculated deception designed to lower their guard. The presence of the Springfield XDM pistol used in the murders suggests that Michael had either lied about removing the weapons or had secretly retained at least one firearm for his deadly plan. The aftermath of the tragedy revealed the complex emotions and divisions that such horrific acts create within families and communities. The victims were laid to rest together in a single service at Laverton City Cemetery on January 13, 2023, 9 days after their deaths. Notably, Michael Haight's name went unmentioned during the service, and he was given a separate private funeral, reflecting the family's struggle to reconcile their grief for the victims with the reality that the perpetrator was also a family member. The community's response highlighted both the compassion and confusion that often follow such tragedies. Family members of the victims released a statement asking people to turn to God in their time of need and praising first responders, while also making the puzzling request that the situation not be used for political agendas, claiming that all protective arms had been removed from the home. This statement seemed to contradict the reality that Michael had used a firearm to commit the murders, perhaps reflecting the family's struggle to understand how such violence could have occurred. Adding to the controversy was an obituary of unknown origin that initially praised Michael Haight as a loving father, sparking outrage from the community and beyond. The obituary was quickly removed, but its brief existence highlighted the complex challenge of how society should remember perpetrators of such heinous acts, especially when they were also family members who may have shown love and care in other contexts. The broader community rallied to support those affected by the tragedy. A GoFundMe was established to help with funeral arrangements and other costs, while local schools activated their mobile crisis response teams to provide support to students and families. Counselors and therapists offered their services, recognizing that the trauma of such an event extends far beyond the immediate victims to touch an entire community. The Haight family massacre serves as a stark reminder of the deadly reality of domestic violence and the importance of taking early warning signs seriously. Macy Haight's brave report to police in 2020 had provided a clear roadmap of her father's escalating violence and her fear for her life. Her prediction that he might kill her proved tragically accurate, not just for herself, but for her entire family. The case also highlights the critical period when victims of domestic violence attempt to leave their abusers. Research consistently shows that the time around separation is when domestic violence victims face the highest risk of being killed by their abusers. Tasha Haight's decision to file for divorce, while brave and necessary, unfortunately coincided with her husband's decision to commit the ultimate act of control by destroying the family he could no longer dominate. The failure of the system to adequately respond to the 2020 domestic violence report represents a missed opportunity that might have prevented this tragedy. While it's impossible to know with certainty whether different actions by law enforcement or the courts could have changed the outcome, the case underscores the importance of taking all reports of domestic violence seriously, especially when children are involved and when victims express fear for their lives. The Enoch community, like many small towns, struggled to comprehend how such violence could occur in their midst. The image of Michael Haight as a community member, perhaps even a respected one, clashed with the reality of his actions. This cognitive dissonance is common in cases of domestic violence, where abusers often maintain public personas that differ dramatically from their private behavior. The tragedy also raises questions about gun access and domestic violence. Despite claims that weapons had been removed from the home, Michael was able to access a firearm to carry out his deadly plan. This highlights the challenges of keeping weapons away from potentially dangerous individuals, especially in cases where they may have legal access to firearms or the ability to obtain them through other means. For the surviving family members, the path forward involves not only grieving for their lost loved ones, but also grappling with the complex emotions surrounding the perpetrator. Their statement expressing no ill will toward the Haight family demonstrates remarkable grace in the face of unimaginable loss, while also acknowledging the reality that Michael's actions don't define his entire extended family. The case continues to serve as a sobering reminder of the hidden epidemic of domestic violence that affects families across all socioeconomic levels and communities. Behind closed doors, the dynamics of power and control can escalate to deadly levels, often with warning signs that go unheeded or are inadequately addressed by the systems designed to protect victims. As the community of Enoch continues to heal from this tragedy, the memory of Tasha Haight, Gail Earl, Macy, Briley, Ammon, Sienna, and Gavin serves as a reminder of the precious lives lost to domestic violence. Their story, while ending in tragedy, also highlights the importance of believing victims, taking threats seriously, and providing robust support systems for those trying to escape abusive relationships. Only through such efforts can we hope to prevent future tragedies and honor the memory of those whose lives were cut short by the very person who should have protected them. The Haight family massacre stands as one of the most devastating examples of how domestic violence can escalate to its ultimate conclusion, leaving a community forever changed and serving as a stark warning about the deadly consequences of failing to adequately address the warning signs of abuse. In the end, every shadow leaves its echo, and every tale lingers long after the last words fade. Thank you for walking this dark path with me. Until next time, be kind.